Kentucky Housing Corporation, also known as KHC, administers the Housing Choice Voucher Program, HCV, also known as Section 8 rental assistance. The Housing Choice Voucher Program is the federal government's major program for assisting very low-income families, the elderly, and the disabled to afford decent, safe, and sanitary housing in the private market. Since housing assistance is provided on behalf of the family or individual, participants are able to find their own housing, including single-family homes, townhouses, and apartments. Housing choice vouchers are administered locally by public housing agencies, also known as PHAs. The PHAs receive federal funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD, to administer the voucher program. The purpose of this briefing is to acquaint you with the information about your rental assistance that you need to know to participate successfully in this program. Federal Regulation 982.301 in CFR 24, Part 982 requires any PHA to complete the following. When a PHA selects a family to participate in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, the PHA must give the family a program briefing. The briefing must include information on the following subjects: a description of how the program works, family and owner responsibilities, where the family may lease a unit, including renting a dwelling unit, inside or outside the PHA's jurisdiction. For a family that qualifies to lease a unit outside the PHA's jurisdiction under portability procedures, the briefing must include an explanation of how portability works. The PHA may not discourage the family from choosing to live anywhere in the PHA's jurisdiction or outside the PHA's jurisdiction under portability procedures. A family that is issued a housing voucher is responsible for finding a suitable housing unit of the family's choice where the owner agrees to rent under the program. This unit may include the family's present residence. Rental units must meet minimum standards of health and safety as determined by the PHA. A housing subsidy is paid to the landlord directly by the PHA on behalf of the participating family. The family then pays the difference between the actual rent charged by the landlord and the amount subsidized by the program. Under certain circumstances, if authorized by the PHA, a family may use its voucher to purchase a modest home. KHC pays a portion of your monthly rent directly to your landlord, and you, as a recipient, pay the remainder, usually 30 to 40% of your total income. There is a waiting list for this assistance, and as families exit the program, vouchers are accepted on a first-come, first-served basis. KHC serves 87 of 120 counties within the state of Kentucky. You can find the list of counties served, and also a list of counties KHC does not serve on our website at www.kyhousing.org under the Rental tab. The head of house for rental assistance simply refers to the person who conducts all business with KHC and whose name the assistance is in. Please be consistent with the name listed as head of household when completing documents for rental assistance purposes. Supply any information that KHC or HUD determines necessary. Necessary information includes evidence of citizenship or eligible immigration status, and information for use in regularly scheduled reexamination or interim reexamination of family income and size. Disclose and verify Social Security numbers and sign and submit consent forms for obtaining information. You must report any changes in your household to KHC within 10 days of the change. For example, income change or size of household. Someone moves in or out, income goes up or down. KHC will ask for verification and process an interim change for you. You must obtain approval from your landlord and KHC to add a new member to your household. When adding the household member, we must combine the household member's income with existing family income to determine the amount of assistance that can be paid for the household. Supply any information requested by KHC to verify the family is living in the unit or information related to family absence from the unit. Promptly notify KHC in writing when the family is away from the unit for an extended period of time in accordance with KHC policies. Allow KHC to inspect the unit at reasonable times and after reasonable notice. Notify KHC and the landlord in writing before moving out of the unit or terminating the lease. Use the assisted unit for residence by the family. The unit must be the family's only residence. Promptly notify KHC in writing of a birth, adoption, or court-awarded custody of a child. Promptly notify KHC if you receive an eviction notice from your landlord. You must provide a copy to KHC. Promptly notify KHC in writing if any family member no longer lives in the unit. Pay utility bills and supply appliances the landlord is not required to supply under the lease. Supply information that is true and complete. The family, including each family member, must not own or have any interest in the unit other than in a cooperative or the owner of a manufactured home leasing a manufactured home space. Commit any serious or repeated violation of the lease, not paying your portion of the rent, damaging the unit, moving in violation of your lease. Commit fraud, bribery, or any corrupt or criminal act in connection with the program. Participate in illegal drug or violent criminal activity or abuse alcohol. Alcohol abuse is defined as being evicted for alcohol-related issues. Sublease or rent the unit, or assign the lease or transfer the unit. Receive Housing Choice Voucher Program housing assistance while receiving another housing subsidy for the same unit or a different unit under any other federal, state, or local housing assistance program. Damage the unit or premises other than damage from ordinary wear and tear, or permit any guest to damage the unit or premises. You are responsible for damages your guests cause. Move without prior notice to KHC, or you may lose your rental assistance. Move in violation of your lease without the landlord's approval, you will also lose your rental assistance. Move from your unit without a formal written eviction notice from your landlord. It may cause you to lose your rental assistance. For a landlord to legally evict you, they must take you to eviction court. Kentucky Housing may at any time deny program assistance for an applicant or terminate program assistance for a participant for any of the following reasons. If the family violates any obligations under the program. If any member of the family has been evicted from a federally assisted program within the last 3 years. If any member of the family commits a drug-related criminal activity or violent criminal activity or abuses alcohol. If any member of the family commits fraud, bribery, or any other corrupt or criminal act in connection with any federal housing program. If the family currently owes rent or other amounts to KHC or to another housing authority in connection with Section 8 or public housing assistance under the 1937 Act. If the family has not reimbursed any housing agency for amounts paid to an owner under a housing assistance payment, also known as HAP contract for rent, damages to the unit, or other amounts owed by the family under the lease. If the family breaches an agreement with the housing authority to pay amounts owed to a housing authority or amounts paid to an owner by a housing authority. If a family participating in the Family Self-Sufficiency, known as FSS program, fails to comply without good cause with the family's FSS contract of participation. If the family has engaged in or threatened abusive or violent behavior towards housing authority personnel. If the family participates in a special program and fails to accept and or cooperate with supportive services under mandatory treatment programs, which may be required by regulation or court order, are grounds for termination of rental assistance. The family may terminate tenancy in accordance with the lease and tenancy addendum. Tenants are required to report all income and could be terminated from the rental assistance program if you withhold income information. How your voucher works. Please review your voucher for the following information. Check the voucher bedroom size. This is the size unit on which your subsidy is based. However, you can rent a different size unit. The gross rent, contract rent plus tenant paid utilities, of the unit you choose to rent does not exceed the maximum gross rent. See voucher for more details. If you select a unit smaller than your voucher size, the maximum gross rent, also known as MGR, will be adjusted down to that size. If you select a larger unit, MGR will stay the same. Subsidy estimated. See voucher. This is the estimated amount of subsidy KHC will pay. You will pay a maximum total tenant payment, also known as TTP. Also see voucher for more information. This means no more than 40% of your monthly adjusted income goes towards rent and utilities. The estimated subsidy plus maximum TTP is the most your unit can cost for rent and utilities. See gross rent on voucher. Minimum TTP equals 10% of your monthly unadjusted income, or $25 as the minimum amount you must pay. Effective expiration date. You must find a unit prior to the expiration date. Your voucher is valid for 60 days. Extensions beyond 60 days will not be granted. Special allowances for extensions may be granted for elderly or disabled households. Extension requests must be submitted by the family in writing to KHC prior to the expiration date. When KHC is the receiving PHA for portable vouchers and will bill the initial PHA, voucher extensions will not be granted. An exception to this policy would be portable vouchers that are absorbed by KHC. The policy listed above would then apply. If a family allows their HCV voucher to expire, their offer of rental assistance will be terminated. The family may reapply for rental assistance if the waiting list is open. Contract rent plus tenant paid utilities, using utility schedule enclosed in your packet, equals gross rent. When calculating your utility chart, you must use the actual bedroom size of your voucher and not the bedroom size of the unit which you have selected, unless you have selected a smaller bedroom size than what is on your voucher. In this instance, you would use the bedroom size of your unit. Only mark the utilities you are responsible for paying. Once you mark those, add those numbers up, and that will equal what your utility chart is. The utility chart number plus the rent amount cannot exceed box number 6 on the voucher, which equals your maximum gross rent. Now you have your voucher and are ready to locate a unit. Here are a few items to consider before leasing. Ensure the landlord will rent to you under the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Make sure the unit will pass the housing quality standards, also known as HQS inspection. Assistance does not begin until the unit passes inspection. If you move in before it passes, you are responsible for 100% of the rent. We do not go back to your move-in date. Condition of the unit. Find a good place to live. The unit must pass an HQS inspection. Review the common reasons a unit fails. All appliances must be in the unit prior to inspection. All utilities must be on prior to inspection. Look in areas having decent, safe, and sanitary housing, and not just low-income areas of town. KHC will provide landlord listings upon receipt of your voucher. You can also locate units at www.kyrents.org. KHC strongly encourages you to find housing built after 1978, or that is known to be painted with lead-free paint. How reasonable is the rent compared to other similar housing in the area? A landlord may not charge you more rent than other tenants just because you have rental assistance. We perform a rent reasonableness test based on information in our database. Make sure you can afford the unit. Consider the amount of rent and utilities you will be responsible for paying each month. Review the cost of tenant-paid utilities and how energy efficient the unit is. Our utility chart is an average. You should check with the utility company to see what utilities ran in that unit for the past year. Consider the location of the unit in relation to low poverty concentrated areas, which would enhance options for schools, jobs, etc. Research has shown that moving to areas of low poverty concentration has strong positive physical and mental health effects. Research also has shown that those families who live in low poverty neighborhoods for a longer period had an increased likelihood of finding employment and having higher incomes. And their children also have higher scores in school and were more likely to enroll in college. Make sure you want to live there for at least a year. If you move during the first year, you may lose your assistance. Do your best to be a good tenant. Good tenants are able to obtain and keep better housing. It is important to have a good reputation as a tenant so landlords will want to rent to you. Federal regulations may cause your assistance to be terminated if you neglect to do the things mentioned below. Some of the things you can do are: comply with your lease provisions, pay your portion of the rent on time, take care of the unit and keep it clean, don't disturb your neighbors, do not move in violation of your lease. You will lose your rental assistance. Know what the lease says before you sign it. All leases do not go to a month-to-month basis after the first year. Tenants who do not do these things may get evicted and lose their rental assistance. KHC may provide information to your prospective landlords about your previous address and names of previous landlords. However, it is the responsibility of the landlord to screen you as a tenant. Once you have selected your unit, you will want to sit down with your landlord and complete the leasing packet. You and your landlord must complete the following forms and send back to KHC prior to your voucher expiration. If you need assistance with the forms, you may ask KHC for help by emailing rentalcustomerservice@kyhousing.org. The landlord should fill out the Housing Assistance Payments Contract, also known as the HAP contract. Instructions are included and are also located in the landlord portal located on KHC's website. The landlord should complete the Request for Tenancy Approval (RTA) Comparability Survey form. Complete the Request for Tenancy Approval, which the tenant and landlord must sign. Make sure you understand what utilities you pay for and which are included in the rent. The landlord should complete the W-9 form. Instructions are attached. The landlord should complete the Agency Authorization form. Complete the disclosure for lead-based paint and lead-based paint hazards. Both the tenant and landlord must sign. Complete the Relative Restriction Rule. Tenant and landlord must sign. The landlord should complete the housing certifications. The landlord should complete the property ownership and sex offender certification. KHC is required to get a copy of the lease. KHC does not provide leases. KHC will use a copy of your landlord's lease. You should complete and send this in with your leasing packet. You may wish to complete a landlord-tenant joint move-in inspection form. This will help avoid disagreements as to the condition of the unit when you move out at a later date. The same form should be used when you move out. This form is for you to keep. Now that you have completed your leasing packet, you will need to turn these into KHC. Upon receipt of your leasing documents with Request for Tenancy Approval, RTA, KHC will stop the clock on your voucher search time. KHC will start the process to determine if you are eligible for the unit. An HQS inspection will be conducted after the unit is determined not to be over the maximum gross rent, the unit is determined to meet the rent reasonableness standards, background checks have been conducted on all adult household members 18 and over. Once we've requested your inspection, please keep the following in mind. If your unit does not pass HQS inspection, you will receive a letter of notification with the failed items listed. If your unit does not pass HQS inspection, ask the landlord to make repairs quickly or look for another unit. If the landlord makes repairs quickly, call KHC and request a re-inspection. Before you can receive leasing documents for another unit, you must inform this landlord in writing that you are no longer interested in the property. If your unit is denied for any reason, your time will start on your voucher again. Subsidy does not begin until a unit passes inspection. If you are not already in the unit, you should move in immediately or within 15 days of the unit passing HQS inspection. Remember, if you move into a unit prior to passing inspection, you are responsible for the full amount of rent. We do not back pay to the date you moved in. Your initial lease term is determined by your lease. Please read your lease before signing it. Pay the landlord a security deposit if required. The amount is set by the landlord and should be comparable to the amount for other tenants. KHC does not assist with security and/or utility deposits. You will receive a letter from KHC stating what portion of rent you are to pay and what KHC will pay. In the event that your rent letter states that you will receive a utility reimbursement payment, URP, you will be issued a debit card where your URP payments will be loaded monthly. Upon receipt of this debit card, you must activate prior to using. Miscellaneous items. Annual recertification. All participating families must recertify family composition and income annually. We will send a notice of when to begin this process. This process begins about 8 months after your initial lease date. Appointment policy. When an HQS inspection appointment is scheduled, you must attend unless you call at least 1 day in advance to request reschedule. We can reschedule one time. It is not necessary for you to be there. Only that someone over the age of 18 is there to accompany the inspector. If you simply miss an appointment, you will be referred for termination of assistance. Please mark your calendar. If you will be away from your unit for more than 30 days, you must contact KHC and provide an explanation. KHC will not assist families who do not occupy the unit on a full-time basis. Your unit must be safe, decent, and sanitary at all times. You must report any problems in your unit to your landlord quickly. If your landlord does not respond, you may contact KHC for a complaint inspection. Landlords may also request complaint inspections if they feel that you are not maintaining the unit. Your utilities must be connected at all times. If you allow tenant-paid utilities to be disconnected, you may lose your rental assistance. If you are completely reporting zero income and are required to pay the minimum $25 rent, you may in some instances claim a hardship and ask the minimum rent to be waived. KHC may waive the minimum rent for the following reasons: loss of eligibility or waiting determination for assistance, eviction, income decrease, or death in the family. Contact KHC if any of these apply to you. Your voucher allows you to move anywhere in Kentucky or the United States and take your rental assistance with you. If you move to another PHA's jurisdiction, you must exercise portability. If you are approved to move to another area, you may transfer to a new housing agency that has different payment standards and policies. You must follow the new policies as directed by the new housing authority, which may affect your rental assistance. If you are in a special program such as FSS, your portability is limited. Your housing representative will explain these limits. You may not have the option of moving to another area. In the event that KHC must deny, due to insufficient funding, a participant's request to exercise portability to a higher cost area, KHC advises the requesting participant to contact KHC monthly to inquire if funding is available. KHC will not issue vouchers to waiting list applicants prior to processing outgoing portability requests which have been denied. KHC prohibits more than one move during any 12-month period. If you wish to use portability, you must inform KHC first and complete a portability request form. KHC will review your file to determine if you will be issued a voucher to move. Once you're on the Housing Choice Voucher Program and are interested in participation in the FSS program, contact the FSS administrator at fss@kyhousing.org. This concludes this portion of the program briefing. Please click the Submit button at the bottom of the page and complete the briefing summary certification and click Submit. This will send your briefing summary certification to KHC. You should receive your voucher and leasing packet within 10 business days. If you're completing a face-to-face briefing, please sign the briefing summary certification and a copy of your HCV voucher and give it to the KHC staff person.